They already have a 3/4 on here.
No, this ain't working correctly. It's got a camera on it. I did it right.
You did it right.
Okay. What's up, YouTube?
What's up?
Found my way over here to Bradley's house.
We're about 7 miles from the most central location of Tennessee, geographically.
I don't think we're really worried about locations or anything.
Anyways.
We're here because people want to see the repairs and how to fix these coilovers from the meet and beat where you yard sold your junk.
Yeah. So, obviously I broke an eyelet and I broke a shaft. However, since these are infinitely rebuildable, you can get whatever parts you need for them, and they're fairly easy to take apart, put back together, and charge them with nitrogen and all that. There's not a lot of videos on service and emulsion coilovers, so we'll go ahead and do that and kind of do a quick run through and kind of see the insides of a coilover. We can go and get started.
So where'd you get parts at and stuff like that?
Luckily, Wide Open Design here in Murfreesboro, they stock all replacement parts for a Radflow coilover. They sell them, and then they also sell entire coilovers, obviously, but they stock all the replacement parts for it. And that shaft right there alone is $95. A lower eyelet is $45, and they sell everything the same price as direct from Radflow does. So support your local businesses, because it's pretty cool when you can just walk in and get whatever you need.
So as bad as it was with that axle about to fall out, all we've got is a broken eyelet, a broken shaft, and maybe a spring.
Yeah, spring is on the struggle. It's bent. I don't know if it's been bent to the point you can't run it. But it should be pretty easy. Got some seal kits for them as well. These are $17 for a seal kit. This is pretty much all your wear parts that you would replace. If you ever take one apart, you're going to buy a seal kit, just replace the O-rings on it. And that's really it. This is the same thing you would do to do like a revalve or something like that. It's all pretty much the same. And they are extremely simple on the inside. It's just a piston and some gas and oil.
Which is better, ORIs or coilovers? Well, so far I haven't broken a shaft on an ORI.
You also haven't, well, you did break a link mount, never mind.
Well, that's different.
But you caught yours a little bit before I caught mine.
Yeah, because I didn't break both off one side.
Yeah.
I still had both my lowers.
Yeah.
So, the benefits of a coilover over an ORI is what?
Really, they're two completely different animals. These are on, as far as like a nicer coilover, these are about the cheapest you can get. I mean, there are cheaper brands out there, but they are incredibly cheap. I think at the time I bought these were less than $300 a piece. But you still have to buy springs. So you're looking at less than $400 a corner for a complete coilover. Whereas
ORI
right now will probably run you around $1,000. If you might be able to find one used for what, $900.
The users still wanting full
Yeah,
price.
so they are way cheaper.
So benefit one is they're cheaper than.
Cheaper.
But how about setup?
As far as like the initial setup on a coilover, if you order some coilovers from Wide Open, they're going to have their valve stack in there that they sell to everybody, and all you do is you get a corner weight and you dial your spring rate in, and then you can go from there. So initial setup is just adjusting springs to get your correct ride height. From there, if you wanted to tune it further, you're talking about disassembling the shock and revalving it, getting a shock tune done on it, basically.
I don't know what any of that meant. So ORI, you just put them in and you adjust your air. It's got one valve in at the bottom chamber. I mean, pretty simple when it comes to ORIs as far as setup. I haven't done my research, so I don't know 100%, but I would imagine that a coilover probably has more tunability if you have the time to research it and kind of get into something like that.
Yeah.
As far as me, you put that dude in full bump, you tack them in, you pull it out, you burn your tabs in, put it back in, put air in it, and you're ready to go wheeling.
Yeah, right. I've never personally had someone tune these shocks, but I'm stupid enough that they ride good enough to me. I'm sure if you had someone that actually tunes shocks, came out and looked at it, they would want to change everything on it. So initially, yeah, mine, I just dialed in a spring rate. You can adjust, make minor adjustments to your springs too, and then you can just bolt them in and go. But there is infinite adjustability to them.
Here's one more thing before we get into tearing these things down. I'm gonna try to remember my list I had in my head to ask some questions as we go through this to help give y'all some more information. I might fail. So one thing that we've always talked about, Bradley, me, a lot of people, is that if you're off-roading and you don't do this, one benefit an ORI or a coilover has off-road over an ORI is that if you break or lose air pressure, you lose oil or something like that, an ORI is just going to collapse. You're riding out on full bump.
Yep.
Whereas on a coilover, you still have an actual spring on that body of that shock that is going to get you out. It might ride like crap, but you can
zero dampening.
Right, you can still get out of the trail, no issues. You could probably still finish the weekend if you wanted to. So there's a big difference when it comes to that as far as what you can do with the two as far as off-road, a little bit of how you set them up and things like that. So let's get into this and start turning these things down and see what we can do.
Yep. First things first, you need you a good set of soft jaws or something to protect your coilover. Turn around the other way because we're going to pull that valve core out. You want to protect your coilover so you don't damage it with metal jaws on the vise. But I really like good Amazon soft jaws. These are like $8. I named them Dwight because he's got the softest jaws around.
All right.
So we'll press this. Actually, we need to turn this over to do that because it's going to spew a bunch of oil out.
You take it back pour out or you just...
No, just depressurize. It's fine. This is your seal cap.
Lower part of the shock?
Yeah, lower part of the shock. The only purpose of this ring right here is to keep the weather out. So you have a wiper seal right here, and all that does is clean the shock shaft. Okay. It does no sealing from the oil on the inside.
So does a coilover have different chambers as far as like upper and lowers, anything like that?
No, not technically. On like a remote reservoir, you kind of have a separate chamber. It's with the reservoir that comes off of that same Schrader valve that's on an emulsion. You have that little canister, and inside that canister is a internal floating piston, and that separates the shock pool from the nitrogen charge. But in an emulsion coilover, you have nitrogen and oil mixed together. Hence the name emulsion.
Okay.
I'm sure there's a correct tool for this, but
Typically straps.
Straps, or there's spanner notches in it as well if you wanted to use a spanner.
Because I got the ones for ORIs is a leather strap to separate those.
But there's not a lot of torque on them, so they come off pretty easy.
All right.
Yeah, so now what we have is the seal cap. This actually has all the sealing surfaces that keep the oil from the outside of the
So
shock.
how does that cap come out?
So you have to push this cap down, and there's a snap ring that goes right on the inside of the body of the shock.
Uh-huh. So how do you compress that?
With no nitrogen charge, you should be able to just push it down.
Move?
Yep, moved on down. So that's the seal head. We push the seal head down, exposing the snap ring. We'll push it down a little bit more if we can.
Well, that's a tiny pocket screwdriver.
Cute, isn't it?
Let me get that.
With this?
I do this for a living.
It's true you do.
We'll see if these tools work.
They're craftsmen, so they should work. There it is. Perfect.
All right, next step.
You pull it back, you pull it out, you twist and rock back and forth. Do what you got to do. Let's chuck it down a little bit farther in the vise.
Oh, about to come out your jaws.
Oh shoot.
D-white's too soft.
D-white's too soft.
So right now it's just a piston that seals inside the body that's
Yes.
we're sliding through right now. So would it not be okay just to take some right here and kind of pop on the top of it?
Okay.
I think she still had pressure on her.
I think that was a vacuum we created inside the shop.
Well, that seal's not in the kit.
This is the wear band.
Oh, okay.
You don't normally replace these. Supposedly these are usually good for the life of the shock.
All right, let's get this over on the table so we can take a look at this.
All right, so this is your piston. This is your seal head that we had down there at the very bottom of the shock. That is nothing but a spacer. This spacer acts to create a gap between these two things, because if this piston came all the way down to the seal cap, you'd be a lot more likely to bend or break a shock.
So when it comes to what I'm seeing here, there's a nut on the end. And so let's get this other shaft for some comparison here, this new one. So I'm assuming that if you take its nut off, you can actually change a piston to a different type of piston?
No, you usually leave the piston exactly the way it is.
So when people talk about valving or tuning a coilover, what are they referring to? Because all I see here is a piston and seals.
This is your valving. You see all these little shims right here? They're stacked up. These are your shims. That's what you actually revalve a shock with, are these. And there's some on the top of the piston, because the whole piston is this piece of aluminum right here. And then there's some on the bottom. So
hang on. So these shims, or washers, as we say, if we're looking at it from the side here where your finger's at, there's holes in the side?
Yes.
And that's where the oil comes in and out?
So the oil actually goes through the shims. You have two sets of shims. You have some right here and some on the bottom. So you have a compression.
So you have passages here on the bottom and on the top.
Yep. So your oil will come say if the shaft on your compression stroke on the shock, your oil that's up here is going to go through these holes right here, because it's going to force these shims shut.
Right.
As the shaft is going up, it's going to go through these holes, and then it's going to go out the bottom through these shims that are underneath this right here.
So you can change shims for thickness, for different
thickness and diameter and everything.
And that's going to change how fast the oil can make its way through. So that can change. So that's your valving and tuning, is basically you're changing how fast the oil can go in and out of the piston.
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
Simple enough. This one, we don't actually have to disassemble take the piston off the shaft, because the shaft is good. We just have to remove the lower eyelet from this shaft and just put some O-rings on it. We could even go ahead and put I guess we could take it all apart. It don't take that much longer.
Well, we got another one we got to take apart. So if this one's just putting an eyelet on it and resealing it.
We'll put a new wiper seal and all that in the seal head. That Landing on the Moon was built with 1/4 20 bolts, and that oil looks really good for as old as this oil is. I mean, it's 4 years old.
That's nice and clean, nice and blue.
Clean, didn't have a bunch of air in it, so that's really surprising.
Well, they've been sitting for a few months now.
That is true, since May. Spun. Did it spin on the eyelet?
It was starting to, yeah.
Yeah. So it's very important that when you take one of these apart, you put it back exactly the way it came, or you'll completely change the valving of your shock.
Oh, this is going to be good.
So, me being the idiot I am, I'm not even going to take it apart. I'm going to leave it just like that, because I will.
There you go, people. Don't mess up your valving.
Then you have your spacer and your seal head. So there's a bushing right here. The bushing did not come with the seal kit. That is a replaceable part, but we're not replacing that. We just have a couple O-rings that are on the inside of here, and then the wiper seal.
Don't stick your thumb.
I know, I've done it plenty of times.
Oh, that made me cringe. Get your thumb back. Get your thumb back.
Let me just go to the straight one. That straight pitch.
Well, you done whoppy jawed the craftsman there.
Man.
That's good quality.
I have some
good quality tools.
I got some Matco ones at work. This is my home kit. Wiper seal. Should be in there. Hopefully it's in there. Yep, right there. And then you have these two
inside?
Yep.
Those get replaced as well?
Yep. So that's these two right here on the inside.
Yeah, but you got anything to clean this thing up? You got a lot of debris in there.
I got a brake cleaner.
Okay.
And that's your O-ring for your seal head.
You gonna finish disassembling that?
Yep. We'll take this one off too, because it's easy. I need a redemption after taking the wiper seal out. I drank too much coffee this morning too.
Jittery?
A little bit.
Separate your old stuff from new stuff. Don't be mixing that stuff up.
Don't leave your leavings where you left them.
Yeah. Pack your leavings out with you.
This is oriented a certain way.
I saw that. It's got one side's got a
Okay.
chamfer temper or something on it. Whatever you
Yep.
call that.
The smooth side goes down or to the outside of the shop. So that went like that. Same thing with that one.
It's got is it on the outside, and the outside's is got a bevel to it as well. It's concaved, and then the top of it, or one side of the seal is
looks
concaved.
Looks like it's exactly the same on both sides. That's the top one.
Oh, the top one's not the same as the other one.
No,
The bottom one was different.
it's concave on both sides.
Yeah.
So that was the one that's furthermost inside, so it's actually like that right there. So now that is ready. You could replace this bushing, but generally you're not replacing that. You're not usually replacing this or your wear band. The wear band, like I said earlier, is usually good for the life of the shop.
He found me a bottle of water.
It's just a
We had a special delivery.
It's just a cool 95 degrees today.
He didn't want to tell me what it is.
It's been long overdue.
Summit Racing. Uh-oh, another box inside a box.
I got
Some knock sensors.
GM knock sensors.
Are these lifters?
And this is the big one.
If you got knock sensors, that means the intake's coming off. Ooh. Those are pretty.
Long overdue. These are Morels drop-in lifters, performance lifters. I ordered them from Summit. I didn't order no Chinese, eBay.
Me and him had this conversation. Get AC Delcos.
They're Morel. They're known for hydraulic lifters and flat tackets too. Actually, they do more hydraulic lifters than they do flat tackets.
So,
Morel.
Are you reusing head gaskets?
No, I actually did buy new head gaskets and new head bolts.
Man, he can't get like me and Casey. Wipe them down, throw them together, let's go.
If they weren't so old, I mean, they've been in there for, I guess, right about a year now. If it didn't have that many heats, like I think you're the one that told me to buy a head gasket.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I'm giving you crap because his actually has been driven quite some time.
Yeah.
Where me and Casey, we only had like 5 minutes each in our engines, and those head gaskets didn't even have time to seal to the surfaces. All right, back in while we're here.
All right, yeah. Back.
So what's this stuff you're using here?
It's just silicone O-ring grease.
And that's to help the install and the lubrication of the when you first put them together.
When you first put everything together, I'm going to start with the inside seals that actually seal the nitrogen and oil from the outside. Remember which side the flat side went up?
Well, you took them apart. So the person disassembly is the one that needs to be remembering that stuff.
Flat side went up.
So it sounds like that's right then.
This one did not have an orientation because it's the same.
That just popped right in there.
Mm-hmm. And I believe with the top one,
You can't put it in through the other side?
maybe you can. It's a little tougher. It's kind of, you don't have anything to help slide it in there.
Yeah, I see that now. I guess that's why you put the bottom one in first.
Yep.
Okay.
Oop,
Might as well put it in on the top.
I guess so.
Don't use seal picks when you're doing the new seal install.
no.
You will tear them up.
And you'll be buying another seal kit because your coilovers are leaking.
And make sure you trim your fingernails. You don't want to put a little nick in it. I wasn't saying your nails are long. I was just making comment here for the viewers. Look at that.
Ain't that pretty?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Get it.
How many thumb power do you need? 2.
Hang on. Cutting it. You need to try to roll the bottom in first. See if you can walk it. Top hadn't set in.
Bottom hadn't set in either.
Oh, is it not? Mm-mm. Oh, there we go.
It's a flathead.
Here we go.
Very gently. Bottom two. Popped out just barely. There we go.
All right, popped it in. No damages?
I don't see anything wrong with it.
Nope. It's all in there, looks good. Okay. Big one on the outside?
Yep.
You need to clean that up with one little bit of garbage in there.
Yeah. Okay, now we need to move on to this right here. Let me take this off. Just get that out of the way.
So there's no seals on the upper one?
No, that's in the wool, so there's nothing. There's no.
Okay,
seals.
so this is only seals to replace is on the lower part. The upper part is your valves and your spacer. So now we got to change that broken part. There we go.
Also put some.
T-White's holding it strong.
He's a strong boy. And hopefully it don't want to try to rotate the whole shaft.
Nope. Right off. That's all you need?
That's all you need.
One little wiggle?
Yep.
Righty tighty, lefty loosey?
That's it.
Spinning shaft.
Spin shaft. That's good enough, yeah.
Well, that's good enough. So do we need to go ahead and put the bearing in it now, or are we doing that later?
We can't. Well, we'll have to get the snap ring out. We don't have the correct snap ring pliers unless we think we can get it out with a pick. But they do have to be pressed into that bore with a vise. You can use a hydraulic press, but a vise.
So the bearing presses into it?
And then it's held into snap rings.
I don't know why you need snap rings if it's pressed in.
I don't think it's that kind of press fit. It's just a slight interference fit.
All right, so now we put the piston back together and put it on the shaft?
We put everything back together. So now is the time that you want to make sure you don't forget anything, and you want to be as clean as you possibly can. So
put the dirty bump stop back on there.
well, that's on the outside of the shock, but everything from
okay.
here up is going to be clean. So we'll have this ring first. Put that on. And we got our seal cap.
Oh, don't you need wasn't there another seal?
Nope.
That was it?
That's it.
Okay. So, so you want to put a little more lube on the shaft or anything?
Probably wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, some lube on the shaft always
Some
helps.
right up here. No, that's
That way you don't cut a seal when you're trying to slide it back together over that little lip. Whew.
I think it's past the first one. No, it's not.
I'm telling you, it's gonna take a lot of force of constant pressure, not hammering pressure. All right, technical difficulties. We got to figure it out. Spin on.
Spit on it. Wiper seal.
There we go. Like
all
I'd
that.
love.
Now, can't forget the spacer on the inside. Without you would get another inch of travel out of your shock, but you might also destroy it because then you'll be rebuilt.
Bradley, I could have swore there was another seal when we took the cap off of that.
That's this one right here.
You sure?
No,
because that's piston seal. The cap had
Yeah.
one on it too.
You're right.
Was that not in the kit?
So I get
Okay.
it. But
So
this-
hey, what I'm saying is it's got to go on
yeah.
unless it goes over the eyelet.
It probably could go over the eyelet. But the reason it's probably not in the seal kit is it's not really.
Right. It's not part of the pistons.
It's not sealing anything. And actually, it was one of these tool ones. It was this one right here. Had a tear in it. So there's your.
Those are the other shims for the valving.
Yep, the other set of shims.
What if you took out these washers?
Those washers They do help keep the whole stack from just fanning out completely. Without those washers, the stack could fan out quite a bit.
Okay. That it?
That's it. Making sure that this shock has all the old oil out of it. We got to put new oil in it, which with an emulsion coilover, there is a set amount of oil you have to call or do the calculations yourself to find out. You can take that wear band off. I'll just set it on the bench.
Blue as can be. That's pretty blue.
Yep. This is 10 times more expensive than a gallon of gas.
Oh, you didn't get all your, you still got some in there.
Some leavings.
Yeah.
Alright, let's make sure this thing is good and cleaned up.
We're ready for a
Snap ring. Should go in pretty.
Snippering.
Should go in pretty easy. Yeah.
done. There it goes. One more. There it is. All right, yeah, that O-ring's got to go all down in there. Shove it dude in there.
It's.
Because this is going to sit
Oh, yeah,
flat
there we
against the body whenever it goes down.
Yep. There it is. I mean, my strap wrench right there.
Yep.
Strap wrench, very similar to the adjustable hammer. Jonathan loves so much.
That torque to spec there.
You're dealing with aluminum parts, so it's kind of like they do their thing.
Cool.
So this is something that Brian should not touch, because if it's aluminum, he's stripping it out. Put your grub screw back in.
Your sister?
Our sister Brian. That's done.
All right, so this one is done. Besides putting nitrogen in it, putting springs on it.
Yep. Want to make sure that it does work freely. But since this is an emulsion, you don't have a complete, with it upside down, you can't run an emulsion upside down, so you will have some free space right here where there's air right now.
Mm-hmm.
So when you cycle the shock to make sure that everything is good, you will have some free space right here where it'll move quickly. Yeah, I'm going to extend this one all the way out so all the air hopefully will separate out of it, work its way to the top, and we can tackle that one.
Okay.
We'll get some bolts and get this thing, these coilovers slung back underneath here, and still got to get a huge one for drive shaft. Finish my plates.
I'm gonna go back and mount up my tire.
Here 43, yeah.
Then we'll pull the front one off and get the trash out of the bead lock ring and put it back on.
Yeah, I wish whenever I did mine I would have taped the inner bead, but I didn't.
Yeah, here's what it is.
It is what
So
it is.
I gotta do that, re-weld my drive shaft with that awesome tube work that you gave me. All right, well, see y'all on part 2.
Yep, we'll be back.
Oh, you won't see me, y'all see him.
You'll see me, but it'll be done.
All right, see y'all later. Attaboy. It ain't moving.
It's not supposed to happen.
This isn't going as planned, brother.
No, it's not.